Welcome, everybody. This will be episode 202 on the Customer Experience, Customer Centricity YouTube channel when it goes live. Thank you, Malika. She's giving applause. When it goes live in about 2 weeks from now, first, our Patreon members get it for 2 weeks as a little Patreon exclusive, which reminds me to say thanks to the Patreons for making it possible for me to write, 2 webinars a week for y'all. Thanks to everybody at all levels who is donating in small or large ways, as well as our free members you can join the Patreon for free. You just don't get as much cool stuff. So check it out at patreon.com/CXCC. So welcome. Today we're going to talk about the Futurespective and a risk mitigation workshop. I'm hoping we'll have a little bit of time to try a Futurespective together. If not, you'll have to give it a try and tell me how it goes. But these are 2 exercises or workshops that you can try with your team for very specific risk mitigation related reasons. Now, as I go, thank you, Jordan. So as I go, please feel free to send any questions you have either into the chat or into the Q&A. Q&A on Google Meet will allow you to post a question anonymously if for some reason you prefer that. What else can I tell you? Okay, let me get my slides cooking. Last time I forgot to share my screen. I'm going to be better this time. All right, window. No. PowerPoint slideshow. Somebody help me out here. Hey, Jen. Hey, Linda. Okay, great. That's my slides and it's me. Hi. Okay, so I'm going to jump on in. And what I usually like to do is kind of blow through my slides. I have about a dozen. Then I will be checking both the chat and the Q&A for any questions that you have. So let's jump in. And excuse me, I've already been talking for hours today, and it's just going to be one of those days. Alrighty. Yes, when you click the last slide first. All right, it's definitely one of those days, and it's recorded. I'm not editing it later. So quick introduction for those of you who don't know me, might be watching it on YouTube later. Hi, I'm Debbie Levitt. I've been a CX and UX strategist, business strategist, product and service strategist for a squillion years. My company is called Delta CX. We're a full service CX and UX agency and consultancy. We do projects, training, consulting, workshops, and we often go into companies trying to help them improve their CX and UX practices and programs, and in general, improve their customer centricity. So if there's anything you think we can do, let me know. And that is why clients call me Mary Poppins, because I fly in, fix everything I can, sing a few songs, and fly away to where I'm needed next. Remember that I'm saying CX and UX interchangeably. The customer experience, the user experience, I don't want to die on the hill of who's a customer, who's a user. They're all in our ecosystem, and we need all of them to survive and grow. So if I say CX, think of it as CX and UX. If I say UX, etc., you get it. And for those of you who missed it, it's back. The tiny camera icon. I took it off for a while, but now people are sad without it. So this just lets you know that my slides are done animating for people who love to take screenshots or camera phone pictures. Makes a little more sense when I do live talks, but camera icon is back. All right, so first let's talk about the Futurespective. I just have one slide on it, and then we're going to spend a lot of time on the risk mitigation workshop. The Futurespective I did not invent. The risk mitigation workshop I did invent. And again, these are both just starting points. If you have a better way of doing this, or you want to try something fresh or new, please do. You don't have to do these exactly as I might want to do them. You are welcome to adapt them for your needs. So the Futurespective is also called a pre-mortem, and it's an exercise we do with our cross-functional team where we get together to imagine the future, but it's kind of a bad future in many cases. What will it be like when this project is completed? In imagining our future, we can look at what might block us from the best possible outcomes. And remember to think about both business outcomes and customer outcomes from the customer's point of view. It's easy to dream up the happy path where the future is bright, if not perfect. Customers love our products, services, and experiences. Everything is going according to plan. But a futurespective is designed to help us now by recognizing what might cause poor outcomes. We can identify and then mitigate those risks. What's under the tip of the iceberg? Above the water, it might look sunny and inviting. Beneath the waves, if I can say that, since we just came back from a concert called beneath the waves lies an iceberg that can derail our project or its success. What could that be? Imagine an ugly, undesirable future. Our project fails. Support channels are overwhelmed. We're having a higher call volume than normal. Please hold. There are angry tweets and social posts, and our stock price drops. Sales reports that customers are leaving or threatening to leave. Offering a discount isn't helping. Run the futurespective to brainstorm these things. How does the project fail? Again, imagining we're in the future, looking back at the project. What could be a blocker or obstacle? Oh, sorry, that's the next one. How does the project fail? What isn't right? How might the unwanted future outcome happen? What can we envision blocking our project success or successful customer outcomes? How did this failure happen? What or who could be a blocker or obstacle? Are we lacking the time or budget that we need? Is the team being manipulated by someone higher up? What are the root causes of this future failure? What potential outside forces might hurt us? Do we have strong competitors? Is there something politically, socially, or regionally going on that might affect this project's success? How do these failures affect our company, our KPIs, our business goals? What metrics will show that we have a problem? What are likely business impacts or outcomes because of this future failure? What are repercussions or consequences from having a fresh wave of unhappy customers thanks to our poor products, services, and experiences? PSE. And the final part of the exercise is to consider, how can we prevent this future from happening? How do we prevent these risks, these consequences? We don't want them to ever happen. This exercise is to document risks, decide how we will mitigate the risks, and who will be accountable or responsible. If you hold a futurespective, put sticky notes on a board, and then do nothing about risk, you've missed the point. Address and fix all of these problems before they become realities. There are many futurespective templates out there. This one is my version. You can use it. You can use other ones, and you're welcome to use mine. As I was just saying, you can find it at, it's up in the top corner, cxcc.to/Miro. Those are actually all the templates from my Customers Know You Suck book, and you can find the futurespective on there. Just replace the pink sticky notes with whatever prompt you want to give your team about the project or the potential future they're imagining. If there's any questions on there, let me know. Otherwise, I will keep on going with the risk mitigation workshop, which is many slides. There's a lot to talk about. Sorry again about my voice. I will do what I can. Alrighty. Risk mitigation workshop. I invented this. So if you hate it, you get to blame me. And if you love it, you can say something nice about me somewhere. I invented this in 2021. I was thinking about how much companies seem to like workshops and team exercises, and I wondered why there didn't seem to be any or many about identifying and reducing risk. So here is a slightly updated version of my 2021 idea of a workshop. And this one can easily be a half day or a full day, whereas the futurespective might be something you run for half hour, an hour. That is, these are not multi-day adventures. A risk mitigation workshop would happen before budgeting and scheduling, if possible. It would help us understand some of the time, money, and resources needed, not just to create a thing, but to make sure we have eliminated as much as possible, the chances of flaws, failures, and other risks. The workshop would highlight what we don't know, um, and what we might be guessing or assuming, and what could cause small or large failures. Now, you might be thinking, hey, wait, Deb, that's your quadrant exercise from episode 196. And I say, well, hold on. There's a few opportunities in my world for us to identify some things we don't know and might be guessing at. So, when it comes to brainstorming risks, you are looking for anything that could be problems with the quality of our products or services in the customer's eyes. Some of these risks will be internal to our company. Customers or the public might not see them, but they can still hurt us and waste money. We also have external risks, which the public sees and our customers suffer with. We have a lot of risk around not delivering value to users and customers. Agile says priority one is customer satisfaction. Lean says priority one is reducing defects. But what if our solution isn't a solution? What if we didn't solve the customer's problems? What if we made the system worse? What if our feature is hard to learn or hard to use? These are possibilities and therefore risks. Another risk that we're looking for will be something a bad actor might do. This might be related to legal issues, security, privacy, or crime. Diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. Did we leave anybody out when considering our target audiences? Are we pretending to know or, everyone say it with me, empathize with communities who aren't represented on our teams or in our workshops? That's risk. Which of our assumptions, if partially or wholly incorrect, could lead to the failure of this project, service, product, or feature? Teams should work from evidence, data, and knowledge. You'll need to identify which pieces of information are guesses, assumptions, hypotheses, facts, came from bad surveys, or came from properly planned and executed qualitative research. Consider resources, skills, technology, team relationships, communication processes, and outside forces like competition and consumer demand. Are any of these threats less than optimal, inefficient, or in some other trouble? That's an overview. Now let's go into how we facilitate this workshop. To run this workshop, you'll need attendees. I don't mind facilitating a larger workshop, and we might need more people here to cover all of the possible risk. You can invite stakeholders if you want, but try to keep them from overpowering, dominating, or claiming risks aren't really so bad or worth documenting. Note you probably want somebody from IT security, maybe someone from legal, if you want to think of risks that product engineers, business analysts, and you might miss, and me. You will want at least one assistant or co-facilitator, and I'm assuming you're the facilitator. There are some rounds to this workshop that it would really help if someone is preparing them in the background while you're facilitating the current round. The facilitators should be senior level or higher UX practitioners where possible. This is not really for product managers, business analysts, engineers, or visual designers to run. If you want to co-facilitate with someone who is maybe in more of a project management role, that could be great, in my opinion, since we probably need them to shepherd some of the outcomes of the workshop after it's done. For tools, I mostly use Miro, Google Sheets from time to time, and Mentimeter for some scoring. Hashtag not sponsored. Of course, you're welcome to use whatever tools you like based on the steps you see in the workshop. So totally tool agnostic here. So now I'll show you the steps or rounds of the workshop, and later I'll have a slide summing up these steps and how long they might take. Rounds 1 and 2, sticky notes for risks. Create a Miro board for people to brainstorm all of the possible risks, or you can use my starter board at deltacx.link/risk-mitigation-Miro. Yes, sometimes I make very long, short URLs. I don't know why. I guess I just want to be clear. I would give people at least 15 minutes for the initial brainstorm. That'll be round one. And there aren't really any wrong answers. We're open to anything someone thinks is a possible risk for our project, team, company, or customers. If you want, you can create frames or areas on your board relating to different themes and ask people to put their notes in the matching theme, such as legal, security, and privacy. Maybe that's one theme. Customer experience, engineering and tech, diversity and equity, accessibility, customer support, marketing and sales. Oops, sorry. Any themes you think will help organize the board a bit and spark ideas. Ask people to use large sticky notes or start your board with some large sticky notes already there. A later part of this exercise will add sub notes. As for color, you can also help these stand out by making them one color. Perhaps they are all black. After time is up, give people a second round of another 15 minutes or more, depending upon how big your group is and how active they are. Give them another round of brainstorming, because now we want to invite them to read the notes that other people have put up. I find sometimes when people do that, they go, "Oh, your idea gives me an idea." And so this is kind of that second round of brainstorming to capture additional ideas or variations that might come because of something sparked by something someone else wrote. Now, we're going to need an example to carry through the rest of this presentation. So I'm going to focus on a little sticky note that's about something I actually saw happen to someone. She had left an abusive spouse and later couldn't figure out how he was logging in to her Facebook and posting. He was logging into her Gmail. Every time she tried to reset her password, there he was, trying to lock her out of her accounts. She finally realized he had her old phone, which was still logged into Facebook and Gmail. Even though I helped her set up two-factor authentication, neither Gmail nor Facebook initially logged the old phone out automatically. In fact, both of those companies saw her old phone as a trusted device that could bypass two-factor authentication. Now, that is some risk. There's a lot of personal ramifications there. So we're going to use that particular sticky note as our example for the rest of this presentation. But imagine that we have lots of great sticky notes from our team, and we're going to talk about all of the risks in the workshop. So now we have round 3. Give everybody a 15-minute break because you and your co-facilitator are going to need to move the board around. We want to make sure that the sticky notes have some space because we're going to start adding notes next to them and under them. Or possibly just under them, up to how you want to lay it out. But we have to start associating sticky notes in clear clusters. So this black sticky note will be the risk. And now we want to dive in deeper on each risk. So again, your team might have put up 20 risks, 50 risks. Now we're going to go in deeper on all of them. So make sure you're giving your whiteboard or your Miro board lots of room between these notes so people have room to add their sub notes. And you can decide the best amount of time, again, based on how many people and how many risks, but I'd probably give people at least 30 minutes to look through the board, and under each sticky notes, they're going to add sticky notes for what I like to call OGA, opinions, guesses, and assumptions, as well as knowledge gaps. What don't we know? Other unknowns, and maybe reasons. Maybe we do know some root causes for this particular thing. Maybe we've got untested hypotheses that we want to mention. Maybe we're missing information. How might we end up with this risk, or what might lead to this risk? Let people brainstorm these and add what they assume or know. Unlike episode 196's quadrant exercise, we are not going to treat these unknowns or unknowns differently. We're just going to put all of these up for shared knowledge. And we really want to see if we know why this risk exists. This should help us avoid these risks in the future. In the future, we shouldn't assume all customers still have control over their devices. Maybe that device was lost, stolen, or in the hands of a bad actor. MVPs can be risky. Let's look at why. So tell everybody that sticky note colors do matter. And so we are going to maybe use pink for this round. Our upcoming round is yellow and blue. So just make sure each round has their own custom colors, you might say. So it's easier for everybody to see the different types of notes we're putting up. You can also make a little legend and show what colors represent what. And you, as a facilitator, you might need to sneak in during a break and change colors of things. Now let's take a look at round 4. This is our possible outcomes round. We have our potential risk. We have some things we think we know about this or wish we knew about this, or some reasons this could absolutely happen. And again, I'd probably give this round at least about 30 minutes, depending upon team and how much stuff you have. And we're kind of asking ourselves, what could happen because we have this risk, or if the risk ends up happening? Possible outcomes that are internal to our company but might not be seen by the public include wasted worker time, morale could decrease, wasted budgets, inefficient processes, needing customer support to help people more, our lawyers have some trouble to deal with. These things may or may not be seen by the public. They might be mostly or wholly internal. External possible outcomes include bad press, our stock price, public trust, damage to the environment, advantages for our competitors, etc. Customers are having negative experiences or are being hurt in some way. This is also where we would include the possible outcomes of not delivering enough value, benefit, or good solutions to some or all of our customers. And we've got sticky note colors here. Internal possible outcomes are yellow. External possible outcomes are blue, if I've done it correctly. You don't have to change the board from the previous round. I moved some stickies around because of the limits of a PowerPoint slide. You might decide the pink slides go next to it or under it. You know, again, totally up to how you want to organize the board and the space that you have. You just want to make sure these are a clear cluster and they all go together. Now, for example, here, possible internal outcomes of the problem I talked about the woman having with her abusive ex-spouse having her phone could be wasted budget. They could be internal efficiencies because we might have to diagnose and fix this problem now or later. And later, it might be more expensive and harder to fix. What if the flaw that is creating this bad actor's access to her stuff actually violates GDPR or some sort of privacy law in your region? What if this is bad enough to get us fined or sued? Possible external outcomes include bad press when people hear that we have this security and privacy flaw. And also, people dealing with bad actors could be hurt or abused by someone else controlling their account. Now, obviously, these are not the only 6 possible outcomes for the very unfortunate situation this person went through. But again, the goal is to brainstorm as many as you can. We need to figure out all the things that could go wrong. So it's time for everybody not here in our fake workshop to take a break. Maybe it's lunchtime, but you and anybody helping you will be eating while working. You will be copying and pasting each risk into a template like what I've got on the screen. Now, I'm using Mentimeter for this. This is a voting system. If you have a different voting system or you want to use a survey tool or something like that, that's fine. We just want to make sure we're giving people an anonymous way to score some things related to the high level risk, the black sticky note that we can kind of turn into a short question. Now, note that your assistant or co-facilitator can start setting this up while you're doing rounds 3 and 4 because the black sticky notes probably haven't changed. And the order of these don't matter. So as long as people see all of them eventually, doesn't matter in which order they've seen them. You just want everybody to see every risk that was on the board, each in its own poll or scoring question. And we've got a rating scale here for each risk, and we're going to ask people to score things 1 to 5 in 3 dimensions. 1 is the lowest score, 5 is the highest score. We've got probability, or how likely it is for this risk to actually happen. Some risks are rare and unlikely. Some risks are quite possible or already happening. Then we have two scores for severity, one for internal and one for external, to remind us to also think about those customer and user experiences. How severe is this internally to our company or externally to users, the public, society, etc., especially in light of the possible outcomes we just worked on? Again, I'm using Mentimeter here. You can use anything that you like as long as it can accept anonymous votes and give a score at the end, which this type of Mentimeter question will. So you're preparing this during everybody's break or lunch. And when they come back from break or lunch, they can join the Mentimeter voting from their computer or phone. They can quickly give their scores of the probability and severity. And just thinking about how long it takes people to think about a thing and give it a score, I would imagine you need at least 30 seconds, if not a minute, for each risk. So if you have 20 risks, maybe you give people 20 minutes. You can always stop early if everyone seems to be done. If you have 50 risks, this could take an hour, but we've made time for that in our plan. We want to make sure we get some scores from people since it might help us prioritize how we address these. Ultimately, the averages of these three scores will go into a spreadsheet that I'll show you later. Because I'm not taking the voting in a spreadsheet, you or the co-facilitator will need to manually move these over. Another good reason to have an assistant facilitator. All right. Round 6 should be pretty fast, maybe 15 or so minutes. Could be longer. Again, depends on the room and the risks. But someone must agree to be the owner for each risk. At least the risks you're going to decide to do something about. If you decide to ignore some risks, you'll want to document why the team decided this risk wasn't worth handling or mitigating. You could assign two people as co-owners, but it's better if one person is the go-to person and is ultimately responsible. You don't want to name a team of people because they might mess up who's really shepherding this issue. You want one human. And just to put a name on the screen, I've nominated Cousin Lucia. She doesn't know that. Hopefully people will volunteer themselves, and hopefully they'll be from the domain where this risk is the most relevant or severe. It's also best to have just one owner, since there are a few more pieces of information we're going to need for our final spreadsheet. So it's best if one person knows this is clearly assigned to them and them alone. Now we've got our spreadsheet. Other people you can give them a break, and you and your co-facilitator will be moving everything into the spreadsheet. If you, now your assistant or co-facilitator, or plural, could be working on this during round 5. I'm not sure why Catherine is crying laughing. Did I miss something? Okay. Wrong emoji, maybe. I don't know. So anyway, your co-facilitators can already be working on getting some stuff into the spreadsheet while people are deciding the owners in round 6. Then you're ready for this here. Oh, the word spreadsheet. I love it. Say it with pride. You can use something else if you want, but I'm still liking spreadsheets. So anyway, not every column in the spreadsheet might apply, but chances are most will. Try to fill it out as completely as possible. Most of the columns will come from the sticky notes. And on the screen, I have a list of the columns. Scoring is going to come from your Mentimeter voting and is the average of the scores that people gave for each dimension. So take that average score, plug it in here. You can round things to whole numbers if you'd like, or leave them with decimals if you'd like. But you can see that each scoring area has 2 boxes on the spreadsheet. You're just going to type in my first box because it's going to put a word in the box next to it. So if you see a formula in a box, don't mess with it. Just put your number in the first box. Now, something that scored a 1 on everything, the lowest score, will end up with a nearly 0% final score. Something that scored 5 on everything, the highest score, will end up with a 100% final score, again, in the hopes of helping you prioritize. The rest of the workshop requires risk owners to fill in the last 4 columns of the spreadsheet for the risks that they own. These 4 columns are resources required to eliminate risk, how risk will be monitored, measurements, metrics, KPIs, and OKRs, and signs risk is eliminated. You probably will have to make these columns wider since there will be words. People who aren't risk owners could leave the workshop, but sometimes it's okay to keep them around in case they want to discuss these with teammates. And I've created this spreadsheet, which you're welcome to use as a starting point. I think it's view only, so you'd have to do a save as. It's a Google Sheet, and you can find it at the also very long short URL of deltacx.link/risk-mitigation-sheet. Now let's take a look at our timing, and then we just have a couple more slides, and I'll check for any questions. But ultimately, we have a plan. We have our risks. We're aware of why we have these risks and the damage they can do internally and externally. Owners can take them back to teams and prioritize them. We know how we plan to monitor and mitigate them, how we'll measure this, and what we're looking for to know that the risk has been greatly reduced or completely eliminated. I'd probably also end the workshop by making sure that a project manager or someone in that role shepherds the spreadsheet from here. They should check in with risk owners at least weekly to get updates on each risk and if it has been reduced or eliminated. Or if we have any other news like, holy cats, it happened and here are the consequences, because our project manager or whoever's kind of that team leader might need to oversee whatever we do next. If you want to try this as a half-day version, you can probably end the workshop around round 4 possible outcomes. Then you and that project manager, or whoever seems to be a bit of a team lead, or the project manager alone, can then assign the risk owners. The risk owners can come back asynchronously and complete the spreadsheet with the scoring, how risks will be monitored, the best measurements and metrics, and the signs that the risk has been eliminated. So you might wonder, could we do a risk mitigation workshop after a design sprint or a design thinking exercise or something lean UXy? Why not take a look at risks and how you'll handle them? You certainly could. But warning, since the risk mitigation workshop is designed to look closely at our assumptions, guesses, and risks, and since design thinking, design sprints, and similar workshops are often, but not always, a sticky note festival of guessing at personas, assuming the customer journey, fake empathy, and team guessing at screens, you might undo your design workshop. But if that's your goal, I love you and go for it. Here's another scenario. You were just added to a project that's already planned or maybe even in flight. The engineers have started. Now they want UX to just take a look at it or sprinkle on some UX. This could also be an MVP that is being planned or in flight. You can certainly do a risk mitigation workshop about this project. What risks does the project have? Did you take a look at what engineers are building and realize it looks like Swiss cheese on a dead squirrel? Are you watching the product manager remove or deprioritize features likely to have good customer value, possibly leaving a minimally desirable product? Then let's discuss and document the risks of releasing this to trial and paying customers. Try my workshop. And that is it. So thank you for attending. Technically, we have 10 minutes left. I'll see if there are any questions. If not, we can jump into a practice Futurespective if people feel up for it. Totally up to the audience here. Let's see if there are any questions. I don't think so. No questions. This was clear and obvious. How do I have no questions from Karen? Karen's here and he has no questions. He always has good questions. That's the good part. All right. We do have a question. Thank you, Mirella. Do you have a conversation with the attendees between rounds 5 and 6 about what to scope? Okay, I should probably put the screen back up with a picture of rounds 5 and 6, just so everybody knows what we're talking about. Okay, let's see. Share screen. I unshared too quickly. All right. Okay, round 5, scoring probability and severity, and round 6, assigning owners. Do you have a conversation with attendees about what to scope out? Yes, I mean, hypothetically, at each round, we are explaining to attendees what's going on in this round and what we expect from them, or how we know the round was done well. So we don't want to necessarily put words in their mouth, but we do want to explain that for round 5, we're expecting people to give a score for how severe they think this is, and that it will be used later for prioritization. And round 6 is let's figure out who's going to own each of these risks. I know that when there are UX or CX risks on something, I wish I could own them. Usually product manager says, I'll make a decision here. And I'm going, what about me? So I'd like to make sure that we assign the risks to the best owner for that domain or that risk. So yes, you definitely at each round you're talking to attendees about what they need to do and how long they're going to have to do it. Yeah, I hope does that make sense? Did I answer the wrong question? Please let me know. Put a follow-up question here. There's no delay. We're not on YouTube. So people are just, can I come on mic? Oh, if you want, we are recording this and putting it up on YouTube later. So that is up to you. I'll put on my headset so I can hear you. Let me see if I have to press a button to allow you here. Hello, Karen. Let's see, how do I let you come on the microphone? Hold on.
Hi, Debbie.
Hi.
Let's try. Thank you. It's just quicker if I ask rather than type. I'm just wondering, because you mentioned as well, there are some risks that we can decide we're not going to do, and say why we're not going to be doing them. I'm just wondering, when is that conversation happening? If within round 5, we're just going through and scoring things within that probability and severity, and then in round 6, we only get 15 minutes to assign owners.
Yeah, and again, the 15 minutes, this is flexible. Hypothetically, if you end up with 30 people in the room who've come up with 100 risks, this is probably a 2-day workshop, and you can stretch the time out accordingly. It's more important for this to be done well than for it to be done fast. So if you think you want to turn this into a day and a half or something like that because you're inviting a lot of people, please do. This is just a starter kind of template. So yeah, you have a great question and point there about when might we want to decide that some risks aren't worth doing. I think it probably makes sense to have that conversation after the scoring comes back, after round 5, and people can see it perhaps in the spreadsheet. You might even choose to sort your spreadsheet by the scores that each risk received. And people might say, okay, in which order do we want to tackle these? And are there some that we just don't want to tackle at all for any good or bad reason? Maybe they're very low priority, or just things we want to push out for later. So I think that conversation would make the most sense after we see the scores and we see if anything is really, really low priority according to everybody in the room. But again, even when something's high priority, you never know when you have someone in the room, especially a stakeholder or a high paid person who says, oh no, sure, it got a high score, but that's not really that bad. Let's, take that off for now. And I, you know me, I'm just all boldness. I'd probably say not paying attention to a severe and likely risk is a risk. I think as a facilitator, I would probably say no to that person, but that's my personality. Not everyone is going to feel comfortable doing that. So great question. Something to try out and experiment with, see if it makes sense after the scoring. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Karen says, I'm wondering about risks. Can you clarify the level of risks that we should focus on? For example, should we consider competitors' moves, existing trends, or the economy? Technically, yes. All of these do cause risks. Sometimes we don't know what a competitor's move is because we can't see what they're working on behind the scenes. But if we happen to know that we have a competitor, for example, with a lot of funding or money, who is very aggressive in their R&D, research and development, that they really tend to be first to market or innovative, then sure, there is a risk of them beating us or continuing to beat us. The economic situation is absolutely a factor. What is how will the economic, but we have to say how. You can't just say, don't write a sticky note that says the economy. We want to write a sticky note that says, due to the economy, we believe there might be lower demand for this product in 2023, but maybe we expect it to rebound in 2024. But yes, I would probably say don't just write the economy on a sticky note, but say something about the economy, especially if it's something that you know is already happening or likely to happen. Like, I don't know anything about economics, but I would imagine that the poor economy we're seeing right now is going to be over in a month. It's probably not going to rebound this year. So we do have to be thinking out a little bit on things like the economy. But yes. So should we have plan B, C, D for the project or product? That depends on how you address the risk. So remember, round 6 says who owns this risk? And then the rest of the spreadsheet is basically, what are you going to do about it? Or what are you considering doing about it? So you might consider, due to certain economic factors that we believe will create risk, we believe that we should delay a product launch until there's more demand for it, or shift our product priority somewhere else, or temporarily change our pricing, or go with plan C. Okay, so the spreadsheet gives you room to put one or more of these things that you are considering doing in order to deal with or mitigate or hopefully eliminate that risk. I can't say there's any one plan or one thing that you should do with. It's really for teams and especially that risk owner who probably is a bit of a decision maker to decide. I hope that helps. If there are any other questions, please let me know. While I wait for them, we do end in a few minutes. So I just want to remind people that we have more workshops even this week. We've got Wednesday with Ricardo Martins, who's going to talk about the business and economic impacts of service design, because service design is awesome and we don't talk about it enough. Next week, we have a Wednesday workshop. I'm going to be talking about what I believe continuous discovery research should look like, because I think some of you know I don't totally agree with, let's just say, the more popular version out there. I think there's a different and better way. Let's see, October 11, I'm going to be talking about my impact map. That one is called Tie Customer Needs to Business Impact and Get More Project Buy-in. That will be the 11th. Let's see. And then I think the one after that is Robert Jordan's on Monday, October 23rd. I'm just wacky excited about this one. AI and UX, managing expectations and implications. We're going to be talking about AI in our worlds and really what we should expect AI to be good at, and kind of why it sometimes sucks and hallucinates and makes up wacky crap, and if there's anything we can do about that. So luckily we've got Robert and Jordan here today, though, as attendees, and they will be our guests for October 23rd. You definitely want to RSVP for that. And where can you do it? Wrong side. cxcc.to/events. These events are all free. There are only a couple of paid events in the calendar. They will be clearly marked, but these are all free, and they'll be here in Google Meet. Then we record them and we seal them up with love. And then they go out to our Patreon for 2 weeks to our paying members. And then 2 weeks later, they're live on YouTube for everybody. So if you're looking for these webinars later and you're not a paid Patreon member, that's okay too. You'll get them in 2 weeks on the CXCC YouTube channel. What about unexpected issues, says Karen? Manufacturing supply chain, there may be issues with delivery. Yeah, the idea is we want to try to brainstorm these issues as much ahead of time as possible. So these are risks. So what if we need a mold from the guy who makes our molds, or whoever makes our molds, and sometimes they're late, and we think they could be late again, or it's a new supplier we haven't dealt with before and we don't know if they're going to do a good job or run late. Let's document that risk and some of its possible outcomes and what we're going to do about that. But it's very often, while some issues are unexpected, some are things that we could have seen coming, even just the possibility of them. If we talk about supply chain and manufacturing, I'm sure if we brainstorm together, especially with a larger team, we would figure out many of the problems that can happen in a supply chain. Someone runs out of materials, the weather stops the trucks from moving, etc. So the idea is to brainstorm these so that you are or feel prepared for anything that could happen. And where possible, you have that plan B or something we're going to do now so that that problem doesn't even happen. Like, for example, I recently spoke at a conference. This is a silly example, but it's an example. And my USB-C to HDMI adapter didn't work. And I just freaked out because I was only traveling with one. What did I do? I immediately ordered 2 from Amazon. It didn't help me that day. Luckily, I turned it the other way and it worked. But from now on, I will be traveling with 3 adapters. Why? Because I care about risk mitigation. I don't ever want to panic again that my HDMI adapter doesn't work and I'm speaking at a conference. So, right, it could be a buffer in time for estimation. It could be, do I have a backup supplier? Do I have enough people working on this? Are the materials available? So there's so many things, and that's why it's important to brainstorm these, because there usually isn't just one answer or one thing. There could be, but sometimes there's a lot of different things that you might look at putting into place, from different logistics options to backup suppliers to I'll give half the order to one supplier and half the order to another supplier so that if one of them's late, I still have half the order. You could brainstorm all kinds of things that you could do once you feel more aware of risks and possible outcomes. All right. Well, I'm going to take a breath. For those of you free in about an hour, I'm going to be doing a live talk. Sorry, not live if you're watching. If you're watching the YouTube video later, thank you for making it this far. Even at 2x, press like and leave a comment to help us in the algorithm. And I'm going to be speaking in about an hour for Copenhagen UX Meetup. And I'm going to be talking about confidentiality, NDAs, and portfolios. So then they're going to record it and they're going to give it to me. So if you missed it, I promise it'll be on our YouTube channel, probably the Delta CX YouTube channel. It's not totally relevant to the CXCC YouTube channel. So subscribe to all the channels, find all the things. All right. Reminds me of a podcast by Tim Hartford about risk mitigation, creating more risks about things failing in other ways. Yeah. I'm sure there are other people who have similar methods or templates or approaches. This is the one that I made up, and you can use it as a starting point and make it better, and let me know how it went. But thanks again to everybody who joined us live or might be watching YouTube episode 2. Oops, wrong side. YouTube episode 202 later. And if you're going to be at the Copenhagen UX Online Meetup, see you in about an hour. And I will press stop recording. Thanks, everybody.